Hi, World History. Welcome to U15 L10 Basics of World War II, Part 2. I'm sure you all love these videos a lot. So your job, as normal, you're going to watch this ed puzzle, answer the questions. Questions I ask you today in blue text are questions that I want you to directly answer onto the ed puzzle. Important concepts will be in red text, so make sure you are following along with your study guide. Learning targets describe the social, political, and economic causes and main turning points of World War II. Describe the causes and consequences of the Nazi Holocaust, including the effects of the Nazi regime's war against the Jews and other groups. So, like yesterday, heads up, today we'll have some heavy topics because, of course, we're talking about World War II and the Holocaust. So, today we are going to start off with talking about the Holocaust. I know you all have learned about the Holocaust before, so here's my question for you. What is something you remember about learning with the Holocaust? So, the Holocaust, we talked a little bit about it back, I think, in Unit 12. So the Holocaust is the systematic mass slaughter of the Jews from the German government and its allies, leading to a genocide, which we talked about genocide, I believe, in Unit 12, and we talked about how that was a mass killing of a group of people. So the Holocaust was from January 1933 to May of 1945. Now, this slideshow will not even include the other categories of peoples that the Nazis hated and also killed. Those people include descendants from Africa, people from Romania, people who are Slavic, so like from the Balkans or Russia, people with a mental or physical disability, gay people, communists, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Catholics. So in 1942, Hitler began his final solution. So instead of working Jewish people to death in concentration camps, the Nazi regime decided just to kill them off. And that was a mass murder at a systematic level. So a lot of that was because Nazis built extermination camps with gas chambers in them. I'm sure you all learned about that during U.S. history. So the SS doctors kept strong men and some women alive to work at the camp. So not everyone was killed, but mostly everyone was. So typically women, kids, elderly, sick had to go, quote unquote, take a shower. So they would go into a room like you see pictured right here. You can see up here they kind of look like shower faucets, but they're not. That is where they were stripped of their clothes, went to the shower, and was killed with cyanide gas that would come out of these nozzles up here. So, here's a good question. Did the U.S. know about the mass killings of Jews before 1945? The answer to that is yes, they did know about this. This did not come as a surprise when the U.S. forces started to liberate Germany in 1945. So, by 1942, escaped prisoners alerted the different governments and medias from around the world. President FDR, or Roosevelt, FDR is just how you abbreviate his name, made empty promises to free the Jews in the concentration camp, but that didn't happen until the U.S. liberated Germany in 1945. Okay, so it wasn't until 1944 that FDR actually makes the War Refugee Board, or the WRB, to help Jews get out of Germany and out of the concentration camps. The war ends in May 1945, and U.S. is more focused on taking over Germany's government at that time than they are with freeing the Jewish people who are in the concentration camps or in hiding. So according to the National World War II Museum, 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust, and an additional 5 million prisoner of wars, Romanians, Slavs, Jehovah's Witnesses, and other persecuted groups were also killed. So here's a map of some of the largest concentration camps in Europe. Of course, Auschwitz being the big one. But we see a lot of this map, right, of the really big, like, Nazi concentration camps and death camps. But in reality, there were hundreds of concentration camps around Germany and Poland. So all these little dots here, those all represent a concentration camp. So as you can see, there's hundreds of them around. Some of them, of course, aren't as big as like what you think of Auschwitz and stuff. And you'll see that in The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which we'll talk about right now. So The Boy in the Striped Pajamas is the movie that you all voted for. Well, at least some of you voted for, of the movie that you wanted to watch for this unit. So this film was from 2008. It was based on a novel that came out in 2006. It is a fictional story. It's historical fiction. So meaning it is not a true story. This was not like an actual person's history, but it was definitely plausible to happen. It includes events that may have occurred to someone at some time, but again, otherwise it is fictional. So the cast. We have Bruno. He is our main character. He is an 8-year-old boy. Okay. He moves from Berlin, Germany to rural Poland due to his dad's job placement. His dad's a Nazi officer. He works for the SS. He discovers that there's this kind of interesting kind of like camp village thing near his house. We know that as a concentration camp. As an 8-year-old, he really doesn't know what's going on. He believes it's some sort of garden, but he becomes friends with this kid named Shmuel. So this is Shmuel down here. He is an 8-year-old Jewish boy in the Nazi concentration camp. And he becomes friends with Bruno after talking through the wired fence. As you can see here, like they're playing checkers. Bruno thinks that the striped camp outfits are just pajamas and not like jail uniforms. Another major-ish character is this Kurt Kottler. He was a young officer serving under Bruno's dad. He spends a lot of time at Bruno's house. He's important because Bruno's sister, Gretel, has a huge crush on him. And to impress him, Gretel becomes very pro-Nazi, as you'll see throughout the movie. There's also Elsa, that's Bruno's mom. She knows something's up with the concentration camp in the garden in the backyard. Like, she knows what it is. Like, there's Jewish people there. But she kind of learns more and more about the atrocities that go on. And then there's Ralph, that's Bruno's dad. So he's an SS officer. So he's a Nazi who is promoted and then sent to occupied Poland to kind of oversee this garden / concentration camp. There's also Nathalie, and that is Bruno's grandmother. She's beloved by her grandkids, but although I think it's her son or her son-in-law, it's a Nazi officer, she herself does not support the Nazi government. There's also Pavel, and he is a Jewish prisoner. You can see him right here. So instead of working at the camp, he works as Bruno's house as a slave servant, but he was a former doctor. So there is some criticism about The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. It's not a perfect movie by any means. It was very popular in the box offices in the United States and also in Europe due to the brutality of the Holocaust. I mean, it just, shows the heartbreak of, well, I'm not going to spoil anything, but like you see kids like Shmuel right here. It's also a very different perspective than a lot of like Holocaust stories because it's in a child's point of view. There is some criticism for it not being a true story because there's plenty of real stories from Holocaust survivors out there that could have been a movie instead. There's also criticism for making the audience feel sympathy towards Bruno as family. So Bruno, Gretel, and Elsa are German citizens who didn't do anything to stop the Holocaust. I won't spoil anything on that one, but you'll see what I mean once you watch the video. There's also criticism for making the audience feel sympathy for other aspects of Bruno and his family, like showing how Elsa is really ignorant of the death and brutality of the concentration camp. She's like really shocked about it, but in reality, all German adults knew what was going on in the death camps. So things like beating, starvation, inhumane living conditions, mass genocide. It was kind of like a little hush of a topic, but every adult knew what was going on in those camps. So we're going to watch The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I have that scheduled for May 20th through the 22nd. So it's split into 3 lessons, U15, L16, L17, and L18. This movie is like exactly 90 minutes, so it fits perfectly to be split up into 3 lessons into 30-minute segments. This will be entirely on Edpuzzle. At the end of each of the Edpuzzle lessons, you're going to be answering a big question. So the question will be like kind of about an overarching theme in each 30-minute segment of the movie. And I will be grading it on very specific details from the movie, okay? I don't want any vague answers. You got to give me really specific details from the movie in order to get all 5 points. And as always with that puzzle, I always grade your stuff and look through it and stuff like that. So before I move on, what questions do you have about The Boy in the Striped Pajamas / watching this movie? And if you don't have any, you can just say none. All right, now let's flip back to talking about the rise of Germany and the start of World War II. So let's talk about the Third Reich. So November 5th, 1937, Hitler tells his advisors that he is going to take over Austria and Czechoslovakia, okay? So here's Germany, here's Austria, here's Czech. Okay, this would be the start of the Third Reich, which means that's the start of the German Empire. So Hitler kind of justifies his actions through something saying like he wants to have more Lebensraum, which means living space. Okay, he wants to expand the German reach so more Germans can have more space. He promises Germans to conquer spaces in Russia and also parts of Eastern Europe as well. In March of 1938, Germany takes over Austria. The Allied countries are well aware of this, but they do not do anything about it. Okay, so like UK, France, America, they see this, but they don't punish Germany at all. Germany also wants something called the Sudetenland, which is kind of on this border of Czech and Germany. And it is in the northwest part of Czechoslovakia. There's about 3 million German people who live there, although they're not considered part of Germany at this point. They're part of Czechoslovakia, so Hitler wants that land. So comes the Munich Conference. So in September of 1938, we got Britain, we got France, we got Italy, so that's Mussolini right there, and Germany, that's Hitler. They allowed Hitler to take Austria and Sudetenland in this meeting. And they're like, hey, Hitler, you can take these two countries, but you have to promise that you're not going to take any other land. Okay? Promise us. Of course, Austria and Czechoslovakia had no say in any of this. And Hitler agrees that he would have no more demand if they just let him take Austria and Czechoslovakia. Neville Chamberlain, who was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, thought this agreement was a peace for our time. So Neville Chamberlain did not want another world war. He was like, hey, if this is all this dude wants, let's give it to him so we don't have to do another war. But as we know, it doesn't always work out that way. So Great Britain's pre-war policy of appeasement. So Great Britain had the policy of appeasement towards Germany. Great Britain thought if they gave in to the minor demands of Germany, like taking Austria, Germany would be satisfied and maintain peace in Europe. But as we can know, Great Britain was very wrong about that. So betrayal happens. March of 1939, Hitler takes Czechoslovakia. Britain and France realize Hitler is, well, he's just a liar and doesn't want peace. And they also know that he's going after Poland next. So Hitler demands the Polish port of Danzig. So here's Germany right here. Here's Poland. So the Poland port of Danzig is right here. So you can see it is on the ocean. So Britain promises help to Poland against Hitler if Hitler invades Poland. Another big player into this is going to be Russia, okay? Or the Soviet Union, whatever you want to call it, it means the same thing. So Russia also wants Poland at this point of time, and so does Germany. So what do? They create a non-aggression pact. So they create the Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact, which happened August 1939. Like I said, create a non-aggression pact. It pretty much means what you think it means. It means that they weren't going to fight against each other. And in order to appease both sides, they split Poland in half. Of course, Poland has zero say in any of this. And Poland hasn't even been invaded yet at this point of time, but they decide anyway that this is how that's going to roll. And it gave Stalin control of East Poland as well as the Baltic states. So as you can see here on this map, there is kind of a plan between Soviet Union and Germany. So Germany would get this half of Poland. Russia would get the eastern half of Poland. All right. So the thing about Nazi-Soviet non-aggression pact is that although the Soviet Union / Russia and Germany come together on agreement on this, they still really hate each other. So Stalin, who is the leader of Russia during World War II, so that's Stalin right there, okay, he hates Hitler. Hitler hates Stalin because Stalin hates fascism, which is what Germany is, and Hitler hates communism, which is what Russia is. So, yeah. All right, so Germany then invades Poland. So Hitler signed a non-aggression pact in Poland with Poland way back in 1934. Of course, that's now broken because Germany is invading Poland. And many Germans hated Poland because it was partially created with German territory from the Treaty of Versailles during World War I. So Germany's invasion of Poland is generally considered to be the act that sparked the beginning of World War II. All right, so the invasion of Poland starts September 1st, 1939. Germany has this like military tactic called Blitzkrieg. It means lightning war. That means that it is where the German military attacks on the ground and then has air support, so like airplanes from above dropping bombs on the enemy. This is a strategy that allowed Germany to have military success at the beginning of World War II. And this invasion of Poland doesn't last very long. 27 days later, Poland surrenders to Germany. So Great Britain and France are like, what the bleep? Germany, why did you invade Poland? We had an agreement that you invade no other countries. Of course, that did not happen. So, September 3rd, 1939, Great Britain and France declare war on Germany. So hold on, let's go back for a sec. How did Germany, Japan, and Italy become allies? That's a great question, right? We talked a little bit about Italy, a little bit about Germany. We talked about Great Britain and France, and a tiny bit about the Soviet Union, and nothing all about America or Japan at this point. So how did these sides like come together? That was a great question, and we will learn that in the next lesson of how the Allies and the Axis came to be. So let's wrap it up for today. Today we talked about the Holocaust, final solution, Third Reich, Lebensraum, Munich Conference, Appeasement, Nazi-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact, and Blitzkrieg. Next up, you're going to watch U15 L11, World War II Japan Part 1 Ed Puzzle. And of course, you have questions, comments, want to learn more, email us. We are here to help you. And there's so many resources about World War II. It's kind of hard to pick what to teach and what not to teach, to be honest. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.